We've had some very good discussions lately. I've fielded an enormity of questions, comments, and suggestions about the last couple of weeks of videos. And today I want to continue the intensity of our discussion and really talk to you about relapse. Now, I will tell you that the word relapse strikes fear in the betrayed spouse with an uncomfortability that it's really hard to find words to describe. It creates just an immediate trauma, like you're being tased, to even think about their spouse acting out again. But we have to have this discussion, because if we don't, then we are not talking about the whole pie chart of recovery work. Now, relapse is different than acting out. I've had a lot of questions from people all over the world that are, describing a situation, and I would say that that's not relapse. That's just perpetually acting out. Relapse is when you have attempted to get recovery work, shown some momentum in recovery, but then reached out to the affair partner or affair partners. You've forsaken your recovery work. There has been momentum, there's been work, and as John, the co-author of Harboring Hope at affairrecovery.com says, relapse is jumping back in the pool, swimming around, and refusing to get out. But there has to have been a getting out of the pool, drying off, and staying out of the pool for that to describe relapse. Some people are continuing to act out, but all they're doing is saying, oh, I'm sorry, I'll never do it again. But there's never really a getting out of the cesspool of the behavior, drying off, cleaning off, and establishing at least what appears to be a new way of life. Now, there's also what we call lapses. And it may not be a full-blown relapse. It might be being flirty. It might have been being unaware of your environment in the way you communicated. It could be something as simple as letting a woman or a man get closer to you at a party or an engagement or what have you that may have just been something that you let your guard down, got comfortable with, and realized, ooh, that was a lapse in judgment. It wasn't a full-blown relapse, but it definitely was a lapse, and it created uneasiness, triggers, flooding, uncertainty in the mind of your betrayed spouse or partner. I want to tell you first off, and be very direct with you, especially to you unfaithfuls, the whole I'll never do it again approach is just not sufficient to prevent yourself from acting out ever again. It's not realistic. It's not enough. And to be very honest with you, and the betrayed spouses will shout amen from the rooftops of every mountain, it's absurd, because you were never supposed to do it in the first place. I know that you mean well, unfaithful, when you say, I'll never do it again, because you feel so sorry for what you've done. You feel so terrible about what you've done. You never want to create or cause this ever again. I'll never do it again. I get it, but it's not enough. It is nowhere near sufficient of a recovery plan or recovery work for you. It's actually, if that's all you're going to do, you're living in denial. You're being extremely naive. You are not giving your betrayed spouse any hope that you're willing to do whatever it takes to never do this, never cause this ever again. I know that can be very direct. It's the God's honest truth. I'll never do it again. You were never supposed to do it. Stop saying you'll never do it again. It's not working. You see, one of the most pivotal factors, some therapists would say the most pivotal factor in relapse prevention is acceptance. When you can accept what you have done and accept what you are capable of doing, it's a game changer. It absolutely transforms your appearance both in the eyes of your betrayed spouse, but also in terms of your own self-respect and your own self-awareness, because you understand what you're capable of. You're not denying what you're capable of because your lifestyle, your affairs, your addiction completely contradict this whole "I'll never do it again." You were never supposed to do it. The best thing that you can do is say, "I'm so sorry that I've done it. I don't ever want to do it again, but I know what I'm capable of if I don't implement a recovery protocol, if I don't commit to new patterns, if I don't commit to new ways of thinking in an entirely new thought life, if I don't commit to recovery work outside of my own willpower and outside of my own white knuckling, I know where I can be. I know what I can do because I am living in light of what I'm capable of. I'm not living in shame. I'm not living in condemnation. I'm not living with a name tag that says adulterer for the rest of my life. I don't live that way. I'm not living that way. Samantha doesn't see me that way. However, I have an incredible sobriety for understanding what I am capable of. If I don't have boundaries and recovery work and people in my life, and if I don't have connection with Samantha, I know what I'm capable of. Before you say, "Oh, so does that mean if you're disconnected, you're going to run out and have an affair?" Absolutely not. It just means that I have to be on the lookout for these things in my life. And if I can continue to live in this new life of 14 some odd years of connection and boundaries and accountability and staying away from burnout and so many other things, I'm going to be on the faithful side of my marriage. I'm going to continue to rebuild for the rest of our marriage what is an incredible lifestyle I never thought was possible. So many betrayed spouses will reach out and say, "Look, my unfaithful spouse or partner won't get help, won't do a weekend intensive, won't do an online course, won't go get help, won't see a therapist," any of that. He or she is just saying that they'll never do it again and that I should just be okay with it. And I want to tell you very graciously, very humbly, that person is not safe, because there are no mechanisms in their life to keep them from acting out again. There's not been any repair work. So the next time that they are frustrated about the things that they are saying that they were frustrated about in the marriage beforehand, the next time those things come up, typically they're going to run right back to acting out again, because there's not been any repair work. There's not been any healing. And if you are willing to place the future of your relationship in the hands of their willpower or their white knuckling it or their own self-sufficiency, which has perpetually failed now due to the instance of an affair, multiple affairs, or an addiction, that's a pretty significant dice roll, and I would encourage you not to do that. You see, if we're serious about never doing it again, we should be willing to do whatever it takes to never do it again. We should be willing to get rid of anything and everything that caused us to be vulnerable in the first place, from social media to relationships, maybe a job, maybe a form of music, maybe a habit, maybe where you work out, or what have you. Until you're willing to get rid of whatever made you vulnerable, and until you're willing to get outside help, there is incredible vulnerability. And I think there's a point where, I know for me, I will ask unfaithful spouses, well, what are you willing to do to make your spouse feel safe again? How are you going to now live so that this never happens again? What boundaries, what mechanisms, what accountabilities are you willing to put in place to ensure that you don't act out, to ensure that you don't reach for temptation? How are you going to reestablish safety in your life, both for yourself and for your betrayed spouse? You see, I think many unfaithfuls mean well. They don't want to act out again. They don't ever want to bring this back upon their life. However, they go back to old patterns, old ways of living, old habitual patterns that have been in their life for decades, and they wonder why they relapse. Or they will say, I don't ever want to do this again, but they're unwilling to get expert help. They're unwilling to be responsible, because if you are going to be responsible for what you have done, you are going to be willing to do repair work. You're going to be willing to find out why you did what you did, because you understand that you have blind spots. You understand that you don't see everything. You understand as an unfaithful that you don't know how to fix you. You see, the most dangerous people for relapse are the people that say, I know how to fix me. I know me better than anyone. I'm never going to do this again. I've got it handled. Those are the people that I tell you are almost guaranteed to relapse. The people that are almost guaranteed to not ever relapse are the people that say, you know what, I don't have it all figured out. I don't know why I did this. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to find out why I did this. I know that I have blind spots, and I understand that I can't see things completely the way they are. I am jaded. I have my own misconceptions. I have trauma. I have anger. I have resentment. I don't know, but I know that if I don't have these boundaries in place, I'm going to do it again. I know that if I don't make changes, and if I don't get expert help to help me see the patterns that are destructive in my life, there's a great chance that I could do this again. And I don't ever want to run back to where I once was. Finally, a great question to ask yourself every day as an unfaithful is, am I being safe for myself today? Am I being safe for my betrayed spouse today? Am I, or should I do this? And is this going to create safety for me or safety for my spouse? Because if not, I think it's got to go. You see, I know relapse scares us. And a special note to some of you that have experienced relapse. I will tell you graciously, and I know this will be hard to hear, relapse does not mean it's over. Relapse does not mean that it's the end of the road. Sometimes relapse happens because the unfaithful was arrogant and prideful and self-sufficient, and this relapse has helped them to finally hit rock bottom. Maybe it's caused them to see things they never saw. Maybe this is the dismantling of the pride and the arrogance that has been a part of their life. That doesn't mean it's okay. That doesn't mean you should just get over it because, again, they finally sobered up, so deal with it. No, no, no. I just mean that if you've experienced a relapse on behalf of your unfaithful spouse or partner, that doesn't mean it's over. That could mean that you may be at a place that you really weren't, and the healing maybe now can begin. That doesn't mean that I'm minimizing the relapse. I'm just wanting to give you some hope, because I know relapse can sometimes make you think, well, it's over, we're done. And for some people, that's been the case. But for a lot of people, more than you would believe, relapse was finally the beginning of the rock bottom that they never were at before. Whether you've experienced relapse or whether you're just scared to death of relapse, acceptance is the key.